Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
Imagine my little girl, regular.
Guys, did you see me dance?
No, you waste energy and time.
I turned penis into gold.
Are you okay?
I want to see you naked.
Surprise, dude, you got herpes.
If I did, you a ventriloquist.
You're really well dressed for a shadow puppeteer.
What is he going to culturally appropriate this time?
My man.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast. I am Ben, in place for Matt today, who is doing post-wedding celebration stuff with his fiance and dog. So I'm here being your host today. And with me is Emily.
Why, hello.
Wesley.
Hello, Benjamin.
And a last-minute addition who is willing to fit us into his schedule. We've got Brandon back. Yay.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How's it going?
Hi, Brandon.
Hey,
Thanks for being here with us.
And he literally just moved, so this is super last minute.
Yeah, Brandon, what's been going on with you since we last connected?
Moving. What else? Buying a couch. That's like a big, super adult thing. You buy a couch
Yeah,
at
it
a store.
is.
For real.
What else? I have a garage, so I feel like a real adult now.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of everything. It feels like it's been a lot. It's been cool.
Those are big things.
Yes, I suppose being stuck in the house for COVID probably doesn't lead to a lot of adventures happening since we last talked.
No. I mean, I'm kind of an introvert, so for me, this is amazing. If I had to get out every single day, I think I'd be like, I wouldn't have been able to do it if I had to get out every day. It's just like great.
Well, that makes buying a couch even more important during these times.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I did trade in all my game systems though, so I'm kind of like playing like an old school Nintendo right now. So
Nice.
Nothing wrong with that. What's your favorite old school Nintendo game?
the very first Mario Kart is on point. Mario Kart anything is really good. If I had a Sega, it'd probably be like Golden Axe or Altered Beast. I used to play a lot of that as a kid.
Nice.
I actually really like Mario 2. A lot of people don't like Mario 2. Mario 2 is actually pretty cool. That's it, though.
Is that the one that's like 2D? No, that's the one where you like travel along the map.
Mario 2 for the NES is the one where you can like pick stuff up and throw it. Is that the Mario you're talking about?
Right. It's like the bad guy is like Mouser. It's not like Bowser. Yeah.
I'm just too young for this. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Actually, before you were born.
It probably was.
Yeah.
So does anyone have anything exciting in their glass today?
I mean, mine is relatively exciting. I had banana pancakes this morning, inspired by the movie Dan in Real Life because of the poster. And I had some bacon. And so I figured I'd finish off my breakfast extravaganza with just a screwdriver. So I'm on theme that way, but it's not that exciting. So
You're on theme with your life, but not the movie.
Sure.
Did you listen to Jack Johnson while you made banana pancakes?
Oh, God, no.
Oh.
Well, then you failed this morning, I guess. I've literally never made banana pancakes without listening to that song. But in my glass today, I made a Manhattan Dan in peel life.
Oh.
And Manhattans don't normally
God.
have a peel, but I put a little lemon peel in here just to be extra funny.
That was so cute, Wesley.
Success.
Chalk one up for the Wes.
Brandon, how about you?
I'm going lightweight this time. I'm having a mics because I was so lit last time that I decided to. Like I was listening to the podcast. I'm like, damn, I'm slurring a lot. So I still decided not to. I actually want to be halfway coherent for this one. So let's just go.
So you're drinking a Mike's in real life?
A Mike's in real life. A Mike's hard strawberry. So I'm really going tough, right? Hard strawberry.
Nice. Nothing wrong with flavor.
Nothing wrong with it at all.
Benjamin, what are you drinking?
I'm settling into the Matt role and not on brand at all. I'm just drinking a vodka with some Sierra Mist Cranberry Splash. You know, it's my seasonal drink. I got to just have as much as I can.
The grenadine of the soda world.
It is. Delicious. So this movie talks a lot about family, and it really takes us into Dan's family. And one thing that they do together is this talent show. So I was wondering, if you guys had to perform at a family talent show, what talent would you show off?
I would definitely be punchline support. And what I mean by that is I played the trombone. So I would just sit on stage while everybody else went up. And anytime somebody screwed up, made a joke, did something funny, I would be there to drop the classic glissando.
The wah, 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 wah. That
Nope.
one? Different
Glissandos
one?
Wah.
Gotcha.
Oh, sure.
Well, shit, guys should have known that my sister plays trombone. I'm kidding. I would not have known that. Sorry, Kelly. I don't have a specific talent that I would show off, but I've been told that I have some noodly arms, like the waveable, inflatable man at car dealerships. So I would do some sort of weird 80s dance, but really emphasizing the car waving noodly arms. That would be my talent for sure with my family.
So far, it sounds like we're both a pretty good background pair.
No, mine's a feature event. Are you kidding me, Wesley?
Oh, so sorry. So sorry.
If a little girl barking is a feature event in Dan in Real Life, she can be a feature event with her noodle arms.
Yes.
I'd probably, if I was doing it, I'd be like the background singer. I'd be Tito Jackson. That's what I'd be.
Yeah.
I'd definitely be. I'm not gonna be still trying to steal a spotlight. I'm good being in the background with like the halfway decent footwork and the snapping in the corner. That's gonna be me.
Snapping in the corner.
That's it.
Very nice.
That's it.
So I have very little shame when it comes to being in front of my family. So
I know.
I would probably have them all submit little things that they'd want me to do and then perform them all charade style, like rapidly.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, like sing a Jason Mraz song. So I'd sing really quick, and then it'd be like, do the robot, and then I'd do the robot real quick. And it would just be like 2 minutes of me spastically moving around doing whatever I'm told.
That's relying a lot on your family.
So there's basically yelling out stuff when you're doing it. That's what it basically
Yeah.
is. Okay.
So I'm basically just like a dance monkey dance, you know, just do what you're told.
Oh, fuck. That'd be fun.
During the first half of our podcast, we'll be discussing and reviewing Dan in Real Life. And in the second half will be our Battle of Twits, a creative competition between Emily and myself. Our current leaderboard is Matt with 7, myself with 6, Wes and Emily with 4, and with PJ getting them, the guest, to 10 points last week, they are now back to 0 after he cashed in and asked for that Christmas special, which we're going to record this week. So
Woo.
thanks, PJ, again, for that great suggestion. Dan in Real Life is directed by Peter Hedges, and it's featuring Steve Carell, Juliette Binoche, and Dane Cook.
He's back.
I should really get that sound clip from Harry Potter and just play it anytime a person's in another movie.
There
Yes,
have
you
been
should.
very few movies that haven't had somebody we've already seen.
I know. It's so strange.
We've been doubling up real early.
You know, he came out with 3 movies that year. Which
Yeah.
kind of, and he was a little different in each one. It was kind of, I was talking to my wife when we were watching this movie. I was like, what happened to him? How did he just fade out into obscurity all of a sudden?
Oh, you should listen to...
You should go back and listen to our Good Luck Chuck episode.
Well, yeah,
Or not.
that was trash. Like, Good Luck Chuck
not.
was not good.
No, but we get into why Dane Cook isn't around anymore.
Oh, okay. I'll go back.
Financial struggles.
Yeah.
His brother stole all his money.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like his brother stole his girl in this movie.
Oh my God.
This was the beginning of it all.
His brother saw this movie and was like, wait, you can take shit from Dane?
Right. It's that easy? Like, he's just gonna bitch up and go? Let's do it. Oh,
That's funny.
I just want to say the first time that I saw her.
Sweetheart, you don't have to shout.
Well, I thought that I just died because there's an angel in the room.
Thank you.
This corn is like an angel.
After losing his wife 4 years ago, Dan, played by Steve Carell, has successfully been raising his 3 daughters and capitalized on that by becoming a well-known advice columnist for local families. When he and his kids go on their annual family trip to Rhode Island, he surprisingly meets Marie, played by Juliette Binoche, in a bookstore, and the two bond instantly. Unfortunately, Marie is Dan's brother's girlfriend, coming to meet his family, and the two decide to keep everything between them.
Record scratch. So I'm in love with my brother's new girlfriend.
So I was watching this and I was like, there's no bro code in this. Like, you don't really you're not supposed to mess with your friend's girl, let alone your brother's girl. Like, that's just not right.
he didn't know. He didn't know at the beginning. Like, as soon as he found out, he kind of stopped.
Man, you're supposed to.
He stopped outward, but then inward the entire time. He was like, "Why are you doing this to me? I'm into you." And most of my notes were just about how upset I was with both of their actions, Marie and Dan, for flirting with each other and somehow feeling obligated, like that the other person was like theirs to date because they had a connection. Like, it was so confusing.
And it was like openly too. Like, when the kids notice it, you're doing some fucked up shit. Like, yo, the kids know. And it wasn't like day 3. It felt like they were longer than 3 days. It wasn't day 3. It was like hour 2. Like, yo, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah, but early on in this movie, we're not introduced to that conflict yet. Like, we start with just a meet cute in a bookstore. What did you guys think about Dan's? Would you call it a pickup strategy?
Of him just like getting a bunch of books and showing off all these books?
Yeah, was he trying to pick her up?
I mean, she approached him under the guise of him being an employee. So I don't know. But I want to derail us just a little bit because her request was the most outrageous thing I've ever heard. Describing a book that she wants to be surprising but funny, but not like ha 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 funny, but it sneaks up on you. How can you ask somebody to tell you, I want it to be funny, but I don't want to know what's coming? Because then if they give you a good suggestion, then you know something's coming.
My mind has been just spiraling, trying to think, did Dan use the books as a way to pick her up? And I don't think he honestly was that smart to do it that way. I don't know.
No, he just said he picked random books as he walked around the store.
Right. I think that's just his character of him just being a funny guy. And like, this is kind of his hometown, so he's familiar with it. I'm assuming that his parents are from Rhode Island. When they talk later about this other childhood friend that they run into, it just seems like this is like his where he lived when he grew up. And so I think it was more of this is just what he would do with anyone. Although now I'm wondering, when he was talking about, no, I'm not smooth at all kind of thing. Now I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he did do that on purpose to try to woo a lady.
Mm-hmm. Because that could have failed spectacularly. Like, if you're going around just handing someone random books, like if he weren't attractive and the lady at the end was like, dude, what the fuck? You just wasted my fucking time and handed me 10 books that I have to now put back. Like, what's wrong with you?
It's a classic, I don't work here, ma'am situation where that's really on her. So I think if that would have been how it ended up, then that's still kind of on her. I get it that wasting time and everything, but yeah, she really had to appreciate, like, she was on board before she knew it was a joke.
And like, who wears name tags at a bookstore though? So I can kind of see, like, he kind of looked like a bookstore guy.
That's true. That's true.
Just wearing a sweater.
Right, he's wearing a sweater. No,
he's a white guy wearing a sweater in a bookstore. Obviously, he works there.
That's what I think all the time. I see a white guy on the street. I think he works at a Lewis. But I'm like, use Barnes and Noble? No. But I will say this. This is one thing I noticed. They don't, when she comes in, they don't cut. So they stay with them the whole time. He's coming in out of frame, which kind of makes you kind of see, like, which I think is actually a cool choice directorial wise, is how you kind of see that build of chemistry there. Mm-hmm. That even though it's like because I think Dan's just basically being himself. He's like, oh, she's cute, but like, she's asking for help, so let me do whatever. And you kind of see Dan kind of like throughout the movie, they ask Dan to do something, he's kind of doing it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't really kind of shy away from it. So I think that's just his personality. But at the same time, it's like, I really like how they never cut away from them. You know what I'm saying? To stay there. And it was like, I think it was like 2 long shots or two long takes in less than 3 minutes. There was another one. I think it was another one before. I think it might've been with the girls, I think. I can't remember which one. I have to go back and look at it.
You paid way more attention to the directing than I did in this movie.
Oh, I would do
that's what Brandon loves.
Right. Like, my wife was like, yo, you ruin movies for me because now I look for stuff. Once we get to the whole, Emily Blunt, I've never seen Emily Blunt in this type of role. I've always seen her as a badass. So when you get to the whole Emily Blunt, Dane Cook, Steve, and then I keep forgetting this girl's name. I know she was in Chocolat, but I can't think of her name. when they're actually eating, there's a scene there where I was like, oh, I didn't notice that, but she noticed it before I did. So we'll wait to get to that. That's like act. That's like middle of the second. That's end of second act, isn't it? So
yeah.
Well, I think this movie does a really good job of just setting up that meet cute trope, because you're already rooting for Dan right from the beginning. Like, as soon as that opening shot of him on one side of the bed and all these papers and things on the other side of the bed, and he kind of reaches over and realizes that there's no one there, and he sits up, he sighs, and then he gets ready for the day. And you notice right away, like, how much he's putting this care and effort into his family. And we learn very quickly that his wife is not there.
Right.
So he's already a sympathetic character. He's already someone you want to root for. And then when he gets to the house, his parents' house in Rhode Island, there are all these families that have all these kids, and he's the only one that just doesn't have his own partner. And so you already are setting up like, oh, yeah, I do want to root for you. I want you to be successful. There's this woman that's actually laughing at your quirky humor of these books.
You find that he's by himself after every door shuts. It's just him.
Yeah, I did like that. The doors would shut and slam shut, and there was this moment of silence, and he would just stand there awkwardly.
And even his parents aren't rooting for him because they condemn him to the laundry room, which I had a lot of issues with that. That's really a dick move to start laundry right before he goes to bed. Like, you couldn't have done this in the morning if you knew somebody was going to sleep in here. And then throughout the movie, it's a running trope of like, oh, I'm in the laundry room. There's going to be laundry while I try to sleep. But they're there for what, like 2 or 3 days? How much laundry needs to be done by all these people? Like, just pack 2 days worth of clothes instead of doing your laundry right away.
I mean, you probably got to do a load of towels every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Maybe the kids throw up and poop all over the sheets. I don't know. There's some young kids. Come on, Wesley.
Towels dry me.
Plus, they all work out together, and so they're all sweaty. Of course, they gotta,
No, they weren't. They weren't sweaty, though.
Hey, low key, I would love to be like get invited to a family gathering. They fucking kick it. Like, they ate good. They did. And where is this spot where everybody's family plays like family football? Like at the end of like the third day, it feels like it always happens. There's always a family football game. Like, where is this family that always does this? And I was thinking this too. Like Maine, Rhode Island, and what else? New Hampshire. I always feel like if you're going that way, you got a shit ton of money. It always feels like they have cash. Oh, we're going out to the cabin. Where's the cabin? You think it's gonna be something small? It's like a damn near miss a mini mansion. It's like, yo, like how much money are these people bringing in? Like, what does his parents do? They always kick it up there. Like, I mean, I would like to go, at least like invite me a couple of times or something. But it feels like it's always something going down, like in like upstate something or other. And it's always nice looking, and it's always like those like little quaint little corner stores and stuff like that. Like, this looks really nice and peaceful. I feel like they always have money up there for some reason. I don't know why.
It's because they do.
Money and football.
And food. Like, those pancakes look fire. I'm not going to lie.
Except for the ones that got burnt.
Another thing that they did together as a family was competing crossword puzzles.
That was so cute to me. I don't know why.
It was cute, but the way that they were doing the crossword puzzle was so like bouncing around and not using any letters that they already had. Like, I didn't understand their strategy. Like, it required her to like shout out a 9-letter word, and then 30 seconds later they're done with it, and there wasn't even a cut. It was like, come on. How are you guys doing this crossword puzzle?
It was designed to be cut quickly because it didn't actually add anything to the plot other than Maria's smart, and all the family likes Marie because she's smart.
And Dan's not, and he's a stain on the family.
Speaking of Marie being smart, right away, we didn't get a lot of information from her. We only knew like him talking at her, and he even acknowledges this when he is talking to her when they're eating muffins and having coffee or something together by the ocean. And I'm just sitting there and I'm going, wow, like he wants to talk to this woman, keep talking to this woman, but doesn't know anything about her other than that she laughs at him. And so I'm glad later that they like fill her out, but that just seemed like such a romantic comedy trope of like only hearing one side, and it was usually the male side.
Well, she's French, and she thought he was funny, so what more do you need?
Exactly.
It's true.
Well, this movie is just one slight step up from a Hallmark movie. Like, this movie is just super melodramatic. And the only difference is you have a script that's a little bit smarter, and you have actors that you've heard of. Other than that, it's your standard Hallmark movie.
I have not seen enough Hallmark movies.
Any Hallmark movies before.
Well, Brandon appears has.
It feels like Dean Cain could have been like the lead in it. That's how
yes.
Like anybody could have been. And that's not knocking Superman. Like he was cool, but I mean, it just didn't feel like it had anything.
Pull generic white guy off the street, and that's your lead in this. Like it makes no difference.
Right, generic white guy that looks like he works at a bookstore, and you got it.
Yeah, right.
Well, I have a theory that's kind of what they did with the third brother, where Dane Cook and Steve Carell, I feel like they just went out and found the perfect middle ground of what those two look like. Because I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him before, but I'm pretty sure they just cast. I think his name was Clay, just because he looked like he could be a brother of these two, and it brought them together as a family.
Yeah, you don't know what he did. You don't know what Clay did. You don't know what you just know. He had 2 kids and a wife, right? That's it.
Yep, pretty much. There's a lot about this family that you don't get right away, but Dan's immediate family with his 3 daughters, you get everything set up right away from the beginning. And I think that's what stood out for me, just because my dad has 3 girls, and yes, my mom is still around, but like that was the dynamic. Those conversations, the arguing, hey, I want to drive. A lot of times those things would happen with my mom rather than my dad. But those were things that were so realistic to me, where I'm sitting there like my youngest sister would be saying something and my parents wouldn't be listening to her. And my older sister and I would just be yelling like, no, she has her own thoughts. Like this is something she came up with. And like, we never had issues with like boys per se, but I do remember arguing with my mom for a long time about things being unfair in so many regards. So it was so realistic to me, and it was really funny to watch the dad do embarrassing things, because that's what my dad would do.
I can't wait to do that.
I cannot relate to that dynamic, but I think the casting was really good for the family. Like Ben, you were just talking about, the casting is better than a Hallmark movie. But the very first thing I wanted to bring up was Alison Pill.
Yes.
Who's the oldest daughter. I absolutely love her. She's in 2 of my favorite movies of all time, Scott Pilgrim, and why did I just forget the other one?
I know Scott Pilgrim is probably the most underrated film I've ever seen in my entire life. That film is so fucking dope. Like I even wrote down here, like right on my notes. I wrote, I low key love Alison Pill. Like she's everything I've seen her in. This is probably the first thing. This is the first time I've ever seen her smile in a movie. Like she's normally so brooding. No, seriously, she's normally super brooding and super just like whatever. Like even in like Devs, like the show Devs, which was actually really good.
Goon was the other movie.
I never saw Goon, but like anything she's in, I never see her smile. So like when I saw her smile, I'm like, oh, she does smile. She does. She is kind of cool. Like she has so much range. I think I low key love her, dog. She's really, really good actress.
Yeah, and she does such a great job of being like the daughter that is still acknowledging the fact that Dan is trying his best as a father, but also is like, come on, you're kind of being a dick. He gets pulled back into reality because of Jane, because of Alison Pill's character. And I think she does such a phenomenal job of that. And then I think the middle child, Kara, I just love how ridiculous, like that was me when it came to arguments. That was me. And I didn't argue about like love or anything, but I was so hysterical about stupid things, like how I didn't understand my homework or something. So hysterical, and that it was me. And so I can totally identify and connect with that character because it's so ridiculous.
I was definitely her lover, talking to the girl's father and saying, oh, I thought your latest article was very apt.
You again.
Nice to see you, officer. How are you today?
You know why I pulled you over?
I sure do. I know what I was doing, and I know it's all wrong.
This is going to cost you.
Put it on my tab.
Dan can't stop thinking about Marie and is tormented by his desire. And it becomes worse when he notices the way his kids are bonding with her as well. Because of his obvious misery, his family gets involved and pushes him to go out on a date with a childhood friend, Ruthie Pigface Draper. Although she turns out to be super hot and ends up making Marie jealous. After the family football game, Jane comments to Dan that Lily has been asking about his flirting with Marie.
There's a lot in that second act.
Well, I mean, there is. We still get this continuation of the family all being bonded and close and everything, but also super over involved in Dan's personal life. Seeing that his parents set him up with some childhood friend that the whole family knows as Ruthie Pig-Faced. Like, they just constantly make fun of her.
In the laundry room.
Oh, yes, and in the laundry
with the
room.
entire family there.
Because they all have laundry to do.
The thing I liked about the laundry room, and like I said, I only watched this once, so I didn't get a chance to get into it like I wanted to. The first time you see him in the laundry room, he's by himself with his thoughts. Second time, he's with his thoughts. Third time, everybody's in the room with him. So it's almost like, if you look at it, he's in like that like bottom left-hand corner. So it's blocked the way to where everybody's in there and you see like all like the adults in there. So it's almost like he can't be with his thoughts anymore because everything else is coming in.
Oh.
It kind of felt like, now this is a spot where he's used to being by himself and being alone. Now he has to pretty much, all right, everybody is seeing me and they're trying to be a part of what's going on. So now that smaller room gets crowded with not just his thoughts, but everybody else's thoughts.
God damn it, Brandon. You're so fucking smart.
So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I get the metaphor without even them saying it. And that's why I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, and the blocking where it's really the family invading his space is also coming at the same point in the story where the family starts invading into his love life and start intervening. So it's really providing that visual for kind of what he's feeling about like being put upon with this childhood friend.
Yeah, this extra panic.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You could definitely feel it.
I thought that part was done really well. I was like, oh, okay, I get this. I get it.
My favorite part of the movie happens in Act 2, and it's where Dan takes the 3 young children on the field trip.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find stuff to do in this quiet town, and everything is closed. And my favorite line, and it's a quick cut. He's like, let's go bowling. And then they cut real quick to them all sitting on the curb. And Dan says, life is full of disappointment. It's like, oh, that's so good. And then they're at the lighthouse and he's like being really philosophical and kind of emo. And his daughter's like, Dad, are you okay?
Nothing like a good Thanksgiving family gathering to air out all of your inner depression on people who don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and he's trying to get away from his brother Mitch and Marie, this whole thing that's going on because he just can't be around that. He was like really hopeful for a second. And so he's like, oh, we're just going to go do something else. And he doesn't even fucking tell anyone where they're going. He just leaves. And when they come back, they're just like, oh, it's okay. It's fine. And he asks the kids, did you have fun? And they're all like,
no. Yeah.
That to me showed me what this family was about. That right there. Like the kids, they're going to be brutally honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
This second act, I already alluded to it, but they're going back and forth. Like this second act is where both Marie and Dan just go back and forth with this pining for each other without any real justification for it. So my notes were pretty funny to read back over because it started out with like, I don't feel pity for Dan. Your brother's dating a cool person. You have no claim. Stop being jealous. Then Marie is now oogling Dan. That's not okay. Dan is being a teenager. And then they have this scene where they finally get a moment alone and he starts telling her like, don't do the salsa, be less attractive, like all these things that like are her fault for being her. And Dan's like, you're doing this and it's hurting my feelings. Like, get over yourself. Then it culminates with them in the bathroom. I think that's where they have that conversation, but where Allison Pill comes into the bathroom and asks Marie for suggestions and Dan hops in the shower to hide. And then instead of her getting into the shower and Allison Pill leaving, Allison Pill's just like, oh, go right ahead. Get naked in front of me. I just met you 2 days ago, but like, I'm going to keep talking at you while you shower. And I thought that was one of the most awkward situations to put into this movie.
I agree. Although I will say that just for my own family reunion kind of experiences. Maybe not with just a person I just met, but you never get that time alone from anyone. Like, you can't escape when you have that much family hanging out with each other. There's no place where you can just go off in a private little spot, especially when there's little kids running around too. Like, someone's always got to keep an eye on them. And so I can understand it with that, but also I did think it to be a little contrived.
Mm-hmm. And she tries to step into the shower with her clothes on, and then she gets called out on that. And then the girl's like, oh, I'll close my eyes. The second she closes her eyes, why don't you just get in the shower with your clothes on?
Right?
You don't have to get naked, lady. I think she wanted to get naked for him.
Allison Pill's a smart girl. She would have noticed that the clothes weren't on the ground once she turned around.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, are you in there with your clothes on? What are you doing? I'm like, we have a washer and dryer downstairs.
That's why they had to do so much laundry. They all shower with their clothes on.
Well, then they're already clean.
They're clean, but the clothes aren't.
No, that's why they do so much laundry, because they haven't figured out that you can shower with your clothes on and take care of two birds with one stone.
Oh, is that what you do?
I'm not going to agree or disagree.
Yeah, but that flirting between Dan and Marie, like, I wasn't rooting for them, but I will say, like I said earlier, when his kids start bonding with Marie, like, Jane comes running up to him and is like, oh my God, she's amazing. She's been everywhere. And he sees Lily, the youngest, working with Marie on a project. And he just sees this connection where he feels affirmed in his beliefs that, oh shit, I really do like this woman, not only for me, but also my kids really appreciate her and my family really likes her. Like, this sucks and I don't know what to do. And I know it's not reasonable, but it does add a layer of depth to what's going on.
Yeah, but she's already in the family. So if his motivation for liking her to be involved with his kids, then guess what? Don't push any buttons here and she'll be in the family.
That's true.
And I wonder, because I feel like at the end of the movie, as he's talking to his daughters, he kind of has this realization of the feelings he has for Marie and how deep they are. So I really think in the second act, he's almost acting purely on instinct and just kind of going along with where his sexual desire or relational desire is sending him. Like, it's not necessarily, I have these feelings, therefore I'm going to do this. It's, I am doing this.
And then he realizes the feelings later.
Yeah.
That just and that's also reinforced by the family, because that just reminded me of the other brother talking about being corked up, I think was one of the one of the phrases used, and being blocked up. Like, that is, and it's just, I think maybe I focused way too heavily. Yeah. I think that happened in the laundry room too. So I think I'm realizing maybe I only paid attention to the laundry room scenes.
It wasn't a bad scene. I mean, he told him he was holding the load, right? Or something like that.
Basically.
Laundry load. I get it.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
See, it's a full circle.
I think for me, by far, one of my favorite moments in this part is the song that not only did Dane Cook sing, but he also wrote the song Ruthie Pigface Draper. So that song that they're playing in the kitchen, they're like, I don't even remember what they're singing, but it's like, da, 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 and they're just having a great time together. I fucking loved that. I loved that so much. I know that it was really mean if you think about it, but it just added so much to that family as they're all just having fun, making fun of someone else. And I had a great time with it.
It also made me wonder, like, that's why I was saying, like, whatever happened to this dude, like, that was just off the cuff somehow, or even if you wrote it, still, like, this guy's got some talent. Like,
heck yeah. It was a good song.
It was fucking hilarious. And I've always liked comedians in dramatic roles because it feels like they have more pain to pull from, because they've either been made fun of or something like that. So like, and this is kind of just going back to like the main character, going back to Steve. The first movie I saw him in was Little Miss Sunshine. So I think he was like the gay brother or something like that. And he kind of, everybody stole that movie. That movie was like amazing. But then the next thing I see him in is like Anchorman. And I'm like, okay, he's playing this guy Anchorman. All right, I get it. You know, he's funny. And then when it got to like The Office, which I already knew was like a remake of a BBC film, a BBC show or the British show. I was like, why is this guy playing somebody who's not smart? Like, he's such a better actor. So, like, I think if I would have seen him in comedy first, I've been okay with it. But every time I see him, and I for some reason cannot watch The Office. It's not funny to me at all. Some people love it. But all the actors that come out of The Office are amazing actors. I think all of them are really good.
It's funny you mentioned The Office because I feel like Steve Carell has a tendency in this movie and some of his other roles to fall into the Michael Scott character.
The cringe
where it stops
humor.
feeling like Dan and it starts becoming Michael Scott. Now, I noticed it really in this movie during the dance scenes where when he's dancing, it's like, that's just Michael Scott, like doing the little like salsa move as they're trying to all do the yoga, or him dancing with Ruthie Draper. Like that just felt very much Michael Scott cringe humor and not the Dan character that they've kind of built up.
Yeah, I felt that too, actually. And I mean, I thought Emily Blunt in this was just so strange because I see her in like The Edge of Tomorrow and like Mary Poppins and Into the Woods and The Devil Wears Prada. And then she's just this really different character here where she's a plastic surgeon and she's super hot and flirty and everything. And I don't know, I feel like I agree that even there was this woman that was so hot, I felt like Dan wasn't Dan. He was playing a completely different character when he was around this woman.
The thing that my wife noticed, so when it's Emily Blunt, Dane, I wrote down here fucking Dane Cook because I think he's just hilarious. Him, Emily, Steve, and then the chocolate lady. I keep forgetting her name for some reason.
Juliet,
yeah. So like, she noticed like how if you look at that scene, like now she has how everybody's lit. She's lit with like a red background behind her. So like, you know, she's looking at Steve and Emily and how they're kind of getting along and they're doing all this stuff. And she was like, she looks a little bit more disheveled. She doesn't look as pretty as she did before. So you look at it like, oh, okay, I noticed her. Some hairs are out of place. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, it's good acting as well, but then you kind of see like, okay, this is her turnover to where, oh, like what I've got with Dane and me is kind of almost like now you have it with Emily and Steve, and it's like, okay, I can see it. So I think that's where that kind of character kind of turned a corner. Was like, okay, I don't really want to be with the brother anymore. But like just that like lighting choice, how she looks aesthetically totally different than she does with all the natural light that they're doing throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah, and this is going to be a little bit of a callback to a previous episode, but I just want to say I feel completely vindicated now about slapping my pancakes after seeing her slap her pancakes. That is something people do
when they're angry about not being able to be with
I don't care
with Dan.
As I thought about it, I think I may have learned the slapping the pancakes from this movie
out of
and
anger.
just internalized it.
Oh,
I don't know.
God.
I don't know.
So you cook angry?
Always. I'm like the Hulk when I cook. I'm always angry.
I slap cakes.
Love isn't a feeling.
No?
It's an ability.
Well, if that's true, you have one gifted daughter.
You are a murderer of love!
Tension grows between Dan and Marie, culminating at the family talent show, in which Dan accompanies his brother singing "Let My Love Open the Door," which causes an emotional breakup between Mitch and Marie. Marie later calls Dan to meet up with him bowling, although his family shows up as they are kissing and Mitch punches Dan. Dan realizes the way he's been putting himself first and commits to not doing that again, only for Mitch and his daughters to give him their blessings to go after Marie. He does, and the two get married.
I don't get the blessing. I felt like it was actually out of character for them because, you know, he acknowledges the fact that he's been very self-centered and he hasn't been putting his family first. But I don't know. I never got the feeling from his daughters that they wanted him to date. I don't know. I guess it just seemed like, let's just tie a happy little bow and be done.
Yeah.
And I think that that's fine. Although it was a little too crisp and perfect for me.
Yes. I have a lot of problems with how the story tied up because I think you were right that it's a lot of the things happened only because it is a movie. But I think just to kind of counter a little bit, I think maybe they really did love Marie as a person so much. Maybe that's why they kind of gave that blessing, that they were like, hey, it's maybe not so much about you dating, but like, this is an amazing person. And maybe they saw the benefit to having her in their lives.
Yeah, and I never got the impression in the opposite end where they didn't want him to date throughout
That's
this.
true.
Like it always seemed like the not dating was Dan's choice. Like he wasn't ready to put himself out there or bring this new person into the family. So I don't know. The daughter's blessing didn't strike me as odd as much as Mitch's quick switch from heartbrokenly punching his brother in the face to hopping in the car with Ruthie.
Well, I mean, look at Emily Blunt.
Sure. I mean, that definitely helps.
Like her shaking her ass. Oh my gosh, that was so hot.
But I mean, it was less than a day.
Right. No, I know.
It was all too neat.
It was
really,
all too neat.
Undermines the heartbreak that Dane Cook has for the breakup. Like it makes it look like, hey, it was just a fling, no big deal. Maybe you're better off. And I also think that, to your point of the daughters never showing signs that they didn't want him to date, is because the only things we really know about the daughters are the three things that Dan does against them, which is the nicely wrapped up bow of listen to me, I fall in love quickly, and I want to drive. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
True.
Right. I also kind of pulled just to piggyback on that. If you punch a guy that hard and you bust their lip and black their eye with one damn punch, you should not. That's amazing to me. And then second, it's like it kind of seems as though I thought the whole thing, he didn't want his girls to grow up, so I think he kind of wanted to keep them from stuff. I don't know if he just wanted to keep them from being disappointed or heartbreak. He was trying to hold on to what him and his wife had before. But you can tell he doesn't want them to grow up, like, at all.
Yeah. Hang on to those memories.
Right. At the same time, it seems as though, like, the girls just wanted their dad to be happy. And I think, like, even though they was calling out the whole flirtatious stuff, they kind of low-key said stop, but then not stop at the same time. It doesn't feel like. It wasn't like, yo, you need to quit it all together. This is wrong. This is such and such's girlfriend. Like, it never really came out like that from the girls.
Although I didn't feel like they had that connection, like I felt like there was definitely a gap between him and his daughters because they didn't have those, or they didn't show those meaningful conversations. Like right away when they got there to the parents' house, the girls just kind of went off and did their own thing, except for Lily, who was trying to get her dad to participate in stuff. So I don't know. I see what you're saying though.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it kind of seems as though like if you have women in your life like that, even if they're little women, it feels like you should kind of like maybe listen to them a little bit. Like I even wrote down in here, like I said, that's why dads have girls. That's why dads have daughters. Because like it's, I got a son, so it's like he falls, I'm like, boy, you all right? Get your ass up. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. But like with like Tisa, she's like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? You're okay and all that stuff like that. But I know if I had a daughter, it'd be like, okay, let me take this time to listen because those emotions are something that, you kind of want to cultivate. So like, I think he did it when his wife passed and it's been 4 years. He's probably blocked off a part of him for 4 years to where now he feels like he has to be mom, dad, disciplinarian. Like he doesn't really let them in as much, I think. And maybe it's because of that particular heartbreak and loss. So then when you see all of a sudden they're all there. When he said, I just want to talk to her. And then they did the whole sister thing. They said, no, we're going to talk to all of us. So they all sat down. I was like, oh, okay, this is why you should have, this is why there's basically daughters and sisters, because this is how we feel. It wasn't just like a one person thing. So when they said, yeah, go after it, I think it was more so like, yo, if that's going to make you happy and help you be dad, then kind of go for it. So that part was kind of, I get that part. And then it helps that I have a wife that it's her and her, they're all girls, so on that side of the family. So it's a different perspective. And listening to that, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Brandon, we need to have you on for more movies that I don't pick up on anything in.
Like I said, Brandon is so fucking smart. Like I need him to narrate my life and narrate everything and explain everything to me.
If I can only work it out with my life, it'd be great.
Generally, though, I think I did like this movie. I have really fond memories of seeing this movie for the first time. I was in high school. I was probably in 11th grade, and it was on Netflix for some reason, just streaming. And I remember watching this movie and just being really moved by it, but not because of what was happening. It was because of what was in the music. And this was the start of Emily's indie music phase. so I'm not even kidding
2007 is a good time for it.
Right after I saw this movie, I watched the credits because I had to find out who was this artist. I had no idea. I loved listening to him. Sondre Lerche, I love you so much. But he wrote all of the music and, he worked with Regina Spektor, but quickly became like my intro level into all this weird indie music that I hadn't heard before. I'm not even kidding you, like Iron and Wine, Fleet Foxes, this. Even Regina Spektor I'd never heard of before until Sondre Lerche in this movie. And I think that, yes, this movie is perfectly fine, but I think and Wesley might disagree with me because he doesn't notice music, but I think the music escalates it to a point that is way better than a general Hallmark movie, even though I haven't seen any of them before. I think so much of it, that consistency of hearing the same voice and the same sort of sounds throughout actually adds to how the themes are in this movie, just kind of this familial feel.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back a little bit. I do hear sounds. It's not like I'm just completely deaf to it. But I think to your point, when a movie like this has a very cohesive soundtrack, when something doesn't stand out auditorily, then it doesn't leave an imprint. But I can't speak to it afterwards, but I'm sure it influences how I feel about the movie. I had no idea who this person was. So I had to look him up when I saw this in the notes, and looking at pictures of him, he looks just like a young Jerome or Jeremy Flynn. I'm not sure which it is, but he plays Bronn in Game of Thrones.
Oh.
Go look up pictures of those two side by side. He looks just he looks like he would play the perfect like teenage Bronn.
Well, so he just generally, I want to quick talk about him. He was discovered by the director, was it Peter Hedges, I think? Peter Hedges basically had free range of this movie. The studio really wanted him to direct it. I don't know why, but he had this complete free reign to choose his actors, his music, everything. And they said, yep, just choose this. And so he was able to get Steve Carell and get Juliet, I don't remember her last name, and Dane
Banaka.
Cook. Thank you. And then so he chose this Norwegian random 23-year-old to do the music. And he just was able to have that freedom, even though it was a pretty modest budget. It wasn't like super crazy amount compared to most blockbuster movies, but it just was so cool that's like a part of me where Sondre Lerche, like that was my introduction. I even had like on my English binder, I had a picture of him wearing mittens by his face, which I still like love.
Do you have a favorite song? Just for me personally.
I
wanna listen
love
to it after.
all of his music. But I'll send you some albums. One of my absolute favorite is Two-Way Monologue, which is done in this movie. Even just listening to the soundtrack again, like there were little pieces in like the yogurt shop, which was the radio was playing in the yogurt shop, or like when Kara was hiding in her room and she's playing music, you could just hear like a little snippet of one of those songs. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know that song. That's so cool. So for me, it was this really great connecting piece for me.
You talked about the budget, Emily, and this movie cost $25 million to make. And you got to wonder if all of that just went to getting the cast locked down, because they're filming on location in a cabin, essentially. Like it's not like they've got these big sweeping shots or anything. So really a lot of that money goes straight into the star power of this movie.
Right.
And you mentioned Peter Hedges. He's the father of one of my favorite young actors, which is Lucas Hedges, who is in Manchester by the Sea, Lady Bird. He was in Waves last year. He's a really good actor, and this was his first movie. He shows up at the end and dances with Lily during the wedding. Because the dad just brought him on set.
And Peter Hedges in general is quite famous when it comes to writing. Like he wrote What's Eating Gilbert Grape and a few other pretty well-known movies and screenplays.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of not really what set him off, but it kind of opened the door. No pun intended. For him.
Sorry, but Lucas Hedges parents are Peter Hedges and Susan Titman.
Wow.
Fuck you, Wesley.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Well, Wesley, do you have any more keen observations like that you'd like to?
Sure as fuck do.
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
He's a big believer in forks to eat a muffin, yet Bear palms it out of the bag before sharing it with a stranger. She's not anti-fork. You've just voided the reason to use it before you've even shared it. Who the fuck brushes their teeth in the hallway?
I do.
Sometimes.
When you have kids.
Yeah, when you have other people in the house, there becomes a space issue. There were like 20 people in that house. I'm sure they needed to spread out and kind of do their own thing.
You don't want to elbow people in the face.
Yeah.
I live by myself. I brush my teeth in the shower.
Who brushes their teeth in the shower?
I know people.
Okay.
But not you.
Not me, but I know people.
Okay.
And then I already kind of said this one, but how much fucking laundry has to be done in 2 days? Like, I still can't get over it. That still just bugs me. Ben, did they say the name?
Now, say my name.
They said it. I mean, it's the title of his column in the newspaper. I don't know if they actually said it, but they did reference it a couple times by showing the newspaper and it being like the title of his column. However, it being the name of his column does not make the title any less stupid. This title for this movie sucks. It doesn't mean anything. What is Dan in real life? Like, what does that even mean? We're all in real life. Like, get the fuck over yourself. So I would call this movie something else. Like, I think taking the title of the song that him and Dane Cook sing and using that as the title of this movie, Let My Love Open the Door, is probably a better title for this movie.
I don't agree with that. I think it should be Murderer of Love.
Or No Bro Code. No Bro Code.
The first thing I wrote down before the movie even started was Dan in real life, but REEL, because it's a movie.
Emily, you've got a new segment for us today.
Ooh.
Math is a wonderful thing. Math is a really cool thing. So get off your act, let's do some math. Math, 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 math.
I am, as a math teacher, going to have a movie math corner. So in this segment, I'm going to tell you about any mathematical connections I make from the movie. Today, we're going to talk about movie equations. So Dan in real life is equal to Fantastic Mr. Fox. And from Justin DeCane, I know that you might be listening to this. I totally am using your guys' ideas. So thank you for your inspiration. But Dan in real life is equal to Fantastic Mr. Fox because, and here's my proof, indie music. There is a quirky writer writing for a newspaper as the main character. 3, pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
Pancakes. 4, there's a dysfunctional family. Specifically, there are family meals where people are doing toasts and speeches. It's weird. The football game and the whack bat, that is happening parallel during similar times in movies. There's a romance between youngsters, specifically where there's a conflict between cousins / or brothers over the same girl. And both movies end with a dance. Therefore, here's my 3 dots conclusion to my proof. Those of you that are mathematical followers, 3 dots. Therefore, Dan in real life equals Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah. And both the main characters are foxes.
Fox catchers.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Brandon, you got a review for us?
The lack of respecting your brother's girl is this a big thing for me. That, and then I will say this: I thought the cast was dope. I really like everybody in the cast, even the mom. I keep forgetting the mom's name. Everything
Diane
she's been
Wiest.
in. She seems like the sweetest lady I've ever seen on TV. Like, she never seems like she ever yells. Like, I think she has like the nice. Whoever is doing her audio has to pot that stuff up so high to get her actual voice. That, I mean, and then the fact that they're upstate, anything on the East Coast always seems very pretty. It always seems nice, even though there's no leaves on the trees. I would give it literally like probably a 6 firmly spanked pancakes.
Oh yeah.
Out of
That felt too real, Ben. That felt way too real.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm all for spanking cakes, but I don't really spank pancakes.
And now, it's time to play Battle Over Your Sibling's Cool New French Partner. I will pose 3 rounds of burnt pancakes to our less than Dansperts and let them try to convince me who is the most in real life. The winner of each burnt pancake will get 1 night outside the laundry room. Second place gets tackled and laid on by Steve Carell.
Oh, that's a win too.
I will be more easily persuaded by the flirty and hypocritical answers. So, sibling partner lovers, are you ready?
I don't know if I want to respond and commit to being one of those things you just listed.
I didn't really think about it. Yeah.
Okay,
we're still going with it though. So are you ready?
Let's do it.
We're so ready.
So we're gonna mix our peanut butter and our jelly together a little bit today and do a little bit of a mashup from our most requested style questions. So our first question is going to be a Wesley's Random Opponent's Choice question. So I'm going to give you both a choice of 3 characters, and then your opponent will provide another character. You will then have about a minute to describe what a meet cute between the 2 of them looks like. Emily's going to go first. So Emily, your 3 choices are Thanos, Captain Phasma, or Roman Pierce from the Fast and Furious franchise that is Tyrese Gibson's character.
I don't know who Tyrese Gibson is. I've seen enough of those.
What?
Okay,
He's the smooth talker.
I'm going to do Captain Phasma because I'm going to be honest, I have not seen enough of the most recent Avengers movies because I got overwhelmed with a lot of them. So we're going Captain Phasma.
Ben has a smile on his face that says that was a perfect fucking choice.
It was. So I wanted to give someone I know Emily wants to find love. Emily, I gave you Chewbacca.
Oh my fucking god.
So we're going to get to some real fanfic shit here. Yeah.
This is the best order ever.
Oh man, not Chewie.
So, Emily, while you write the meet cute between Captain Phasma and Chewbacca, Brandon, tell us what have you been watching recently?
I have been watching Star Trek. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. It's kind of
like the new one?
Yeah, the new one.
Gotcha.
I really like it. I like what they've done. I'm not somebody that's a stickler to canon stuff. So I like when they make up their own stuff as they go. The story from season 2 to season 3, it feels like all the seasons, rather 1, 2, and 3, feel like they can stand alone. That's really good. The acting's good. The special effects are amazing. I've been a Star Trek fan since I was before I got into high school.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek for the story, Star Wars for the action and fun.
Okay. It's a good answer.
Yeah, one of my favorite captains is Janeway from Voyager. I think everybody likes Picard. Cisco is cool. I've always kind of liked Cisco in Deep Space Nine. But I think this cast is really cool. It's really diverse. I like everything about it. I think it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. I think it's a really cool show.
All right, Emily. So can you please walk us through the meet cute between Captain Phasma and Chewbacca?
Yeah, I can. So after Chewbacca leaves, when Han dies, he is just distraught and has a hole in his heart. His best friend is gone, and these little youngsters aren't going to fill that for him. He's a Chewbacca. He has needs. He deserves that hole to be filled. He has this void of just utter loss that he just doesn't know what to do. So Chewie is going to get a little bit he's going to become a little bit of a drunk. And so he's going to go to a cantina and he's going to be sitting there just crying his eyes out and so sad because, of course, he lost his one true friend. So you'd hear him a lot of times just going with his Chewbacca sad noise, is drinking away his pain. And then he looks up when a glass is put down in front of him, and he looks up and sees not only a lot of legs, but he keeps looking up, and it is a tall human woman. And he is just blown away by this very, very tall human woman. And she's so striking to him that he is completely taken aback and doesn't know what to say. And so she responds in the Wookiee language, and they have a drink together. Really, Captain Phasma was trying to get information out of him because she knew who he was, but turns out they do fall in love because of his just utter depression of losing Han. He's emotionally unsteady, but just a surprise, Captain Phasma is also just needing some love and needing someone to fill her hole.
Yeah, a little nookie for that Wookiee.
Wow. I don't know whether to put that for Ben or Emily. I'm definitely writing it down, though.
I wish I would have talked longer. I wanted to hear how this really turned out.
I love the improv. Brandon, do you have any questions? I've got two that I want to ask, but I'll let you go first if you have anything.
Is she meaning with the armor on or off?
Oh, she's definitely not wearing her armor right now. Like he just sees a woman. Because, she's trying to get information out of him at first because she knows like he's a vulnerable state right now. She's kind of undercover. She's trying to influence her she's trying to rank up in the military. So she's coming up with her own operation of trying to like destroy the rebellion.
Got it. Okay.
She ends up falling in love with that hairy face.
What did she say in the Wookiee language to pick him up?
Well, it doesn't matter what she said because she's a human that can speak Wookiee. That is a huge deal in the Star Wars universe.
Okay.
But really what she did say was, want a drink?
Perfect. Okay.
Something simple.
So from that, he got Wookiee wood, right? Is that what we're saying? Okay.
He provided the helmet.
Got it.
Oh, God. Damn
okay, then I guess we're moving on. Because that was stark. Ben, it's now your turn. So I'll go first with giving you your three options. You have to pick between the hormone monster from Big Mouth, and I'll let you guess which one I'm talking about.
The old man one.
Emily nailed it. So Coach's hormone monster from Big Mouth, Lieutenant Aldo Rain from Inglourious Bastards, or Wonder Woman, which was very funny when we first started talking at the beginning of this episode about, because I had already written down Wonder Woman and I was like, that's really funny.
I'm going to go Wonder Woman.
You get Steve Martin playing his character in The Jerk, Naven.
All right.
Well, while Ben's doing that, Wesley, tell us something you've been watching.
I, for some reason, thought it would be a good idea for on my Sunday morning to watch Eyes Wide Shut. Which
I don't even know what that is.
It's a Stanley Kubrick movie. It was actually his last one in 1999. It stars Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. It's weird. It's really weird. Brandon, have you seen Eyes Wide Shut?
I've seen parts of it. Weren't they married then, or were they not married then?
They were married then, which
okay.
made all of the nude scenes, sex scenes more acceptable. But it's basically a movie about a sex cult where Tom Cruise questions his marriage and then goes off in New York and finds himself in a sex cult where they're all wearing masks and capes and all this weird stuff. And then he gets threatened, and then he tries to
Dear Lord,
reverse detective, like how this hooker that he's also a doctor who like saved a hooker from overdosing the night before at a party. And it's weird. It's weird. I don't remember seeing it in a very long time, so that's kind of why I wanted to watch it again. But yeah, that's where I'm at today. So with that, Ben, how are you feeling?
Well, not good. Not good. Jesus.
All right. So let's hear your meet and greet between Wonder Woman and Steve Martin from The Jerk.
Okay, so Steve Martin in The Jerk, he works at a gas station. So he's working the pump one day when he hears the bell ring, alerting him to...
I like that you both gave each other like just the perfect... Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So he hears the bell ring to go out and service the person's gas tank. And when he gets there, he sees a woman just sitting there in the middle of the air. And she's like, fill it up. And he goes, what am I supposed to fill up? I can't see nothing. What do you mean fill it up? Where do I put it? And she's like, oh, I'll show you where to put it. And then she gets out of the car and like shows him how the gas tank works. And then they end up bonding over him being born a poor black child and her being born, fantastical. This was really hard, you guys. Yeah, but she fell in love with the quirky, just, kind of semi-stupidness of him, and he fell in love with the just fact that like she'll do whatever she wants and tell him what to do. Like he needs that direction in his life.
That sounds like marriage. Yeah. Like, yeah, babe, whatever you want.
What does Wonder Woman tell Steve Martin when she has to go save the world?
In order to protect him, she doesn't tell him anything. Like, he's so dim-witted that she's just like, I'm going to my sister's for the weekend. And he's just like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Does the jerk get a chance to fly the invisible plane?
He does, but the first time he flies it, he crashes it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Into what?
Into his gas station. Like, she literally lets him take it off the gas station lot, and he goes up about 10 feet and crashes straight down.
He brought a paint can with him, and then it got shot down, so...
This plane's defective!
There you go. That seemed like a very difficult one for like, just the premise of that question seemed like a very difficult one, so I'm proud of both of you. That was very good. Question 2. So Dan gives life advice from real life, and his name is Dan. So in case any of you didn't know how the movie got its title, that's it. But we're all kind of struggling right now in these tough days, so maybe Dan can help you. So will you please write a letter seeking advice from Dan in real life? And we're going to start with Ben.
Dear Dan in real life, I currently live in a small village up north. It's just me, my wife, and many of my little helpers whom I employ. The holidays are always extra stressful for me, with the increased hours at work and the pounds I put on from stress eating. And as a result, my relationship with my wife typically strains around this time of year. This causes me to seclude from her in my workshop. Well, the other night, a particularly stressful night, I decided that I needed to relieve some of my stress. So I wrapped my own presents. I whipped up some eggnog. I enjoyed a little solo mistletoe time. I found some magic in that old silk hat.
Still going.
I made a fist and checked it twice. I was masturbating, Dan. Do you understand? Now, normally this would not be an issue, but on this evening it appears I had a small audience. And word got around the bunks, and now it's like I have hundreds of little Louis C.K.'s working for me.
Oh.
Like, everything is sticky. I mean, like, everything was sticky before because of their mainly sugar diet and poor hand-washing habits, but this is a different sticky, you know? So the advice I need is threefold. Number 1, what cleaning method do you suggest for getting everything unsticky? 2, how do I teach them discretion without being a hypocrite, since I was playing with my favorite toy at work too? And what's the best bribe I should give them to not tell my wife, because I really don't need that stress right now. Sincerely, Panicked at the Pole.
God, even Pole's a double entendre.
Wow. Ben, you really just like filled in Matt's role today and even wrote a letter from Santa instead of to Santa.
Well, no, I didn't say it was Santa.
It just kept going, dude. I was like cool after the third one. And I was like, yo, he's still going.
Yeah, what was the one after Solo with my mistletoe?
Found some magic in that old silk hat.
Oh, that was the one that got me so good.
I don't have any follow-ups. I'm still reeling. So, Emily, let's hear your advice that you're seeking from Mr. Dan IRL.
Mine is based off of a true person.
Mine was too.
Sure. Dear Dan, all my life I have been surrounded by girls, and not in a good way. I am one of 7 children. 5 are girls, and my brother is way younger than me, so I grew up being tormented by my sisters. Now I have a family of my own, and although I love them to pieces, I'm still surrounded by all women. I am the father of 3 wonderful daughters like you, and, the periods are not a problem. I got used to shopping for tampons early on with my wife. The hormonal rampages and tears, no big deal either. I'm so used to it after being tortured by my sisters for all my life. The constant, Dad, she's, fill in the blank, whining is nothing to me anymore. I can handle it all. What I can't handle is the lack of manliness in my house. How do you maintain your own identity when raising only girls? Everything I do is around them. My life is consumed by them, from picking up the naked Barbie dolls strewn about my house and the frou-frou pink frilly dresses and the glitter. I have no time for myself and have even resorted to teaching my daughters D&D so I can just try to be myself again. I feel like I, along with my dogs, have been castrated. There are no balls in this house. How do I find me time when all the people in my life are little girls? Sincerely, drowning in estrogen. P.S. Think about The Rock having a tea party with little girls. At some point you want to burp, drink beer, fart, and swear? That's me, but no muscles.
The Rock with no muscles is a very funny visual.
3 guesses who that's about.
That's about your dad.
It's about my dad.
Yeah.
Is that how you describe your dad, The Rock with no muscles?
It's a great description.
He's a Samoan guy with no muscles whatsoever.
Definitely not. No, that was his description, actually. I called up my dad and I said, hey, I want to write a letter about you and how you always say that you don't have balls in this house because you're surrounded by women all the time and your poor dogs don't have balls either. And he's like, well, it's like there's no manliness in the house. It's like The Rock having a tea party with little girls, but I don't have muscles.
On to question 3. I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie, so maybe you can make it a tiny bit better by making a reboot, prequel, or sequel. And we will start with Emily.
So firstly, a reboot, prequel, sequel of Dan in Real Life is going to be a cash grab no matter what. Dan in Real Life told a complete story with full character arcs, pretty much. And so it's like, whatever is going to happen, it's going to be a cash grab. But there is one angle that I would actually be interested in seeing, and that would be a parallel to Dan's family, which would be Marty's family. Marty is the boyfriend of Kara. So in this reboot, Marty would be the main character, running parallel to Dan's story. We open on Marty waking up in his bed alone, but then suddenly we get 2 younger girls jumping on him, happily screaming with excitement to just get up. He sighs, smiling, and he picks them up, one under his arm, one over his shoulder, and he runs down the stairs for breakfast. So in this movie, we're going to get a completely different dynamic of Marty's immediate family compared to Dan's immediate family. It's this open and loving family with each other rather than Dan's closed off relationship with his daughters. Literally, like the doors close on him. So we learn that Marty lives with his older sisters, his mom and her boyfriend, Carlos, and then he has 2 younger daughters. And he lives with his Auntie Maya. There's this constant chaos in the house, but it's filled with a deep and honest love, which inspires his line about love is an ability. So we would get to know more about Marty's family and how they're excited to meet his lovely new girlfriend, Kara. And they tease him mercilessly, but it's all in good fun. And so we get to see more of that building on him as a character. And then later, each time Dan has an interaction with Marty, we would see that, but from Marty's perspective of him trying to do what's best and using his family as guidance to do what's best to prove to Dan that he will be a good boyfriend and that he does have strong feelings for Kara. The conflict would seem to revolve around Dan and Marty and seems to come to a head at Dan's family reunion, but it actually would really be between Kara and Marty at Dan's wedding. During the wedding, Marty realizes that Kara doesn't take the teasing of her sisters well and seems very childish in her actions around her family. So Marty starts to question her ability of love within even her own family. Later, he ends up breaking up with Kara prior to her meeting his family to spare their feelings, as familial love is most important to him at this point in his life. The end would be Dan realizing that Marty and his understanding of love and family is too good for Kara at this moment, but Dan accepts that Kara needs to learn heartbreak and grow as a person. Because of this, Kara and Dan become closer as a result.
Very thorough.
That sounded so dismissive, but it was...
Yeah, no, it's not.
That was like, oh, that's very good. Did you have a title?
Marty in real life.
That's what I wrote down.
right, yeah. I mean, it just sounded like it was like a straight up film treatment. Like you actually like legit came with like all of that.
Thanks, Brandon. Sure, yeah, we'll do that. Marty in real life, but with 2 E's.
Okay. So then, Ben, your turn. Let's hear your reboot, prequel, sequel.
So it's 10 years after Dan's wedding to Marie, and all of his children have transitioned out of the house to college or to start their new careers and families. Dan has successfully transitioned to being an advice blogger on his blog, Dan on the Internet. He gained a tremendous online following after some advice he gave to Santa went viral. One day, he calls to check in on his youngest daughter, Lily, who's at college, but gets no answer. This causes him to panic because she always picks up when he calls. So he begins to scour the internet for any sign of his little girl. Several minutes of panicked searching reveals that she hasn't been seen for several days. Then he gets a phone call. Lily has been kidnapped and is being held ransom. Dan will not stand for this, though, and informs the kidnapper that he has a very, very, very particular set of skills and that he better give her back or Dan will come after the kidnapper with all of his might. The kidnapper laughs at this, and Dan sets off to find Lily. Instead of informing the police, though, Dan uses his internet skills to track down his daughter by writing a scathing column about how kidnappers are buttholes and informing the public his daughter is missing. Who better to get on the case than an entire internet community with clearly too much time on their hands? The internet is able to piece together exactly what happened to Lily as if it's the first season of Westworld and give Dan all of the information he needs to save his daughter, which he then hands over to the cops because it's like their job. Lily is found tied to a chair in an old warehouse with no memory of what happened. It is eventually learned by Dan that Mitch kidnapped her as payback for Dan stealing Marie. Dan decides to out Mitch in another blog column revealing the crimes Mitch committed, so Mitch lives out his days on the run, having been canceled by the internet, a fate worse than death. The title of my movie is Dan on the Internet.
Dear Lord. I think you should tell them your other idea because it was really funny.
Oh, my other idea is that Ruthie basically, we follow her as she got hot, and then once she got hot, she starts dating all the people that ended up making fun of her when she was growing up and murders them.
Oh.
So Dan escaped just by a little bit, but Mitch, he did not.
I would actually watch that
idea a lot.
I watched that shit. Hell yeah, I watched that.
I liked that idea more than the one I had, but the second I wrote Dan on the Internet, I couldn't stop laughing. And I'm like, I got to stick with that joke. That's too funny.
Yeah. I can't fault you for that either. So. All right. So, question 1. A tough question. I think this has definitely been one of our hardest, especially for a 1-minute answer. Emily, the meet cute between Captain Phasma and Chewbacca. Chewbacca crying was absolutely hilarious. I think having it after Han's death was also really good. I kind of wish she had been in her armor and you had incorporated like that mirror into his like self-deprecation where like he sees himself crying or something, but that's just something that I thought of. Ben, tough hand, man. You got dealt a tough one there. Wonder Woman and Steve Martin from The Jerk. I admire what you were able to get out of it. Pulling up at the gas station I thought was really funny. Some of the stuff we talked about after the question was very well improvised. So kudos to you for that. But that one's going to Emily. Question 2, getting some advice from Dan in real life. Ben, I won't go over all of the quotes, but I wrote down every single one of them and they disturb me still. I'll just say, wrapped my own presents and whipped my own eggnog. Very funny. Emily, it was very heartfelt and like it felt real. It was a very good answer. And The Rock at the Tea Party minus the muscles is still a very funny visual as well. But I think Ben outweighed the funny in that one. So that one's going to Ben. Question 3. This is definitely where we spent almost all of our time discussing, but the reboot, prequel, sequel. Emily, just a really thorough description and great story. I also really, really love the idea of a parallel versus an after or before. I wish they would do that more. And I really liked the idea of Marty sparing his own family from Kara and Dan's family when they break up so that they don't really mash up like that. Ben and Brandon, I'm going to quote you a little bit. Ben's shit is always hilarious. Sorry, Ben's shit always be hilarious. Yeah, it really came down to the story versus the entertainment. And I think that Ben, I love that even though Matt, you're not here today with us, I miss you. You did embody Matt by still shoehorning some other story into your answer with Taken. I loved it. It was super funny, but I think Emily's story was just so good that it outweighed the funny here. So I'm going to give that one to Emily. So this week, the winner is Emily with 2-1.
Great job, Emily.
Great job, Ben. You should have gone with Ruthie killing her.
I probably should have.
Her exes. You would have won that one.
Brandon, thank you for being on with us today. We really appreciate you kind of stepping in at the last minute.
No problem, y'all. This is always fun. Always fun.
Do you have anything going on that you kind of want to plug? Anything?
I wish I could say I was doing my rebound show, but I haven't been because I've been busy. Basketball starts in December 25th now, so it's kind of a little bit too soon to kind of get stuff going. The trades are cool, but we may do something, we may not. I don't know. I may do a little half put together show or something. I don't know.
Keep us updated.
Yeah, keep us updated, and we'll point people your direction.
Cool,
yeah, for sure.
Cool. That works.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for listening. Please subscribe, rate, share with a friend or two. Hit us up on social media or our email. We're on Twitter at IDYP_podcast. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We also have idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com if you want to reach us to us directly. But we really appreciate you all listening. Next week, we are covering The Mist, and we are having Dylan on again as a guest for what will be our last episode of the year. So the episode coming out after this will be our Christmas special, and then the next 2007 movie after that will be The Mist, and that'll be that last week of December. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, fuck you, 2020.
Fuck you, 2020.
Yeah.
This year was terrible.
Well, hey guys, this was fun.
This was super fun. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you, y'all. Thank you.
Yep,
Bye, everybody.